Hi, and welcome to today's video where we will be talking about how to avoid common mistakes which are more specific to IT project managers and in some cases very general towards general PMs across the board. Um, so just to give you a bit of an overview, what we'll be covering is really some aspects of how to manage lack of, making sure you've got lack of, what shall I say, not have lack of objective and scope. Then areas I will be covering is inadequate planning and estimation, elements of risk, and communication, and also some team collaboration areas, and obviously change management. Therefore, so without delay, let's crack on with the video. So the first element, which are one of my tips, is really, having a lack of a clear project objective and scope is a big no-no, or is something you should try and avoid, and it's a big no-no if you can avoid it. But 99% of the time when you have a project scope, there are degrees of ambiguity within your project regarding the objectives and scope, because sometimes you start a project where you kind of have a baseline and you have to build on these things. However, where you can get clarity on your scope and objectives is really key, and making sure that you continue to get that clarity between your scope and objectives throughout the project, and amending it to meet needs of the stakeholders, etc., is really key. Now, one way of doing this is really just constant communication with the team and your senior stakeholders, and making sure that you are having that that two-way conversation with people that make the decisions about how the business is going to transform, or your senior stakeholders, to make sure the project is actually going to add value. Your next one is really inadequate planning and estimation. Now, I have done, when I first started in my early career as a PM, one of the things that I quickly learned was actually, piss poor planning leads to failure. And this is one of them. So one of the things you want to make sure is good planning and understanding what activities are. Now, you don't have all the answers, but spend the time planning your project, understanding it, what needs to happen when, and the impact. Really just start with your Gantt chart or your sprint plan or whatever it may be. At least have a clear definition, which will help you drive your objectives and your scope as well, and make sure that's all aligned. But make sure you are spending that time and effort to do your planning and estimation of how long things are going to take, because that will also support what resources you have, what you can and can't deliver within the time frame. If there's unrealistic expectations of a delivery time that's unachievable, you can manage that early on, and that's really, really important. The next one is really not having inadequate risk management within your project. Now, this is really, really important. Any project and any seasoned project manager will tell you there is always a risk in your project. There are things you know, things you don't know, and things you can plan for. But you've got to be able to make sure that you are reviewing, evaluating your risk, understanding the impact, and making sure that you are managing that risk well with all your stakeholders and the people within your environment. And really, one of my tips really here is for proactive risk management is really conducting risk management assessments. Use it as part of your stand-ups, or if it's not a stand-up, your weekly team meetings, to just review and understand those risks and make sure, is it actually a risk? Has it been mitigated? Can we avoid it? What can you do with those risks? And that's really, really important. The next one is, poor communication and stakeholder management. Now, I have seen this in many, many PMs where either they are shy or don't have the skill set or the confidence to really communicate with the stakeholders and manage them effectively. Now, as a project manager, and the clues in the title, you are a manager, you are there leading a team, and you will need to make harsh decisions and have difficult conversations with the right people at the right time. And that's really important. You should be comfortable about talking to the right people and not shying away from having those conversations. It's really, really cool, really, really important, should I say, that you have that discussion. And the best part about this is when you do have that discussion, you will be surprised that 99% of the time, most people will probably have a reaction at first, but once you've explained it and you've understood it, they kind of get the understanding and say, okay, well, and then work with you to find and resolve issues. So having that good communication with your stakeholders is really, really key. The other one is really not managing change, insufficient change management. Now, if you are constantly making changes in your project, or you are working with your team, colleagues, etc., and just saying, "Oh, let's add this, let's add that, let's make this change." How are you managing that? If you aren't managing change correctly, you aren't understanding the impact, you aren't understanding what cost, and how does it deviate your plan, and therefore you are unable to communicate that to your seniors. And that change control is really, really key. Again, weekly reviews, one-to-one conversations with your team, anything that really matters, have those things. Speak to your team colleagues, regarding changes. Are they necessary? Can we do it later? Does it have to be done at this time? Be prepared to challenge why you need to change. Now, sometimes, you have to accept the challenge and say, yes, it's right. But sometimes you can, mitigate the actual change and say, okay, we don't need to do it now. We can park it. We'll do it later when you've got something more stable. And again, adding too much change in a project brings a massive degree of risk, which increases your risk management, and therefore also deviates from having a clear objective and a scope to manage as well. And there's one that as well as this, which is not having inadequate team collaboration and leadership. Now, as a PM, you need to be able to go and manage and make sure you are collaborating with your team, and making sure that you are getting a positive environment, you are creating and being an effective leader, and then promoting that teamwork. And that's really, really key. And there's a lot of people who don't bond with a team and don't adequately talk to your colleagues. You really do need to do that, and that's really key as well. Some tips for that: really just be open and honest. Just trying to be as genuine as you possibly can, and don't feed the people who are knowledgeable with bullshit. Basically, take their knowledge and use that to better your progress into your plan. They're the ones who will deliver the project for you, and you cannot do that. So make sure you've got good team collaboration there. So in summary, make sure you've got a clear project scope and objective set out. Make sure you spend time planning and estimation. Manage your risk, manage your communication with your stakeholders, and then make sure you're collaborating with your team. And finally, make sure you are managing change. Thank you for listening today.